Welcome back, everybody, to the last episode of the third volume of UPressPlay Sports. I'm your host, Richard Pereira, and joining me today is Sports Editor Maddox Greenberg and Editor-at-Large Cameron Priester. Hey guys, how's it been going? This is the last episode with me as the host, and well, it'll be very interesting to see what happens with the podcast moving forward. But hey, how are you guys feeling?
I'm doing all right now. A lot of good stuff to talk about for this last episode. It's been fun doing the podcast for the past year. It's been great having you on, Richard. But yeah, ready to talk about some good stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited for this episode. It's sad to see Richard not be here anymore after this episode, but yeah, I'm excited just to talk about some news on around sports, specifically my Celtics, which is going to be a very fun topic to talk about.
Yeah, we'll definitely be talking about that later on in the podcast in this episode. But yeah, held down the hosting privileges of hosting the podcast since the fall of 2021, like the second semester since its birth. But hey, it's been incredible, and had a lot of funny moments, had a lot of great conversations about everything that went on in FU sports and national sports. It's been very enjoyable, and I can't be any more happy or grateful that I've gotten the opportunity to be part of the podcast and just have fun with you guys and the guys that came before you guys and all that stuff, all the lighthearted stuff. But yeah, it's been great. So to start off our last episode for the podcast, the third volume anyway, we have FU baseball to talk about. Their season came to a close a couple of days ago in the Conference USA tournament in Houston, Texas. They lost their first game to Western Kentucky, bounced back with an excellent performance from Hunter Cooley on the mound. He pitched a complete game and got career-high 12 strikeouts to take out Rice in the elimination game to stay alive for one more game. And of course, they went against Western Kentucky. And of course, after another strong start, they were unable to maintain it as Western Kentucky just came back for the second time in the tournament against them to just end the Owl season as a whole and completely, which apparently is the fourth time in 5 games that the Hilltoppers were able to beat the Owls this entire year. So a very tough end to the Owl season. So I want to know your guys' thoughts on how they did this season, their ups and downs, and the players who really stood out, made themselves stand out throughout the campaign.
Definitely, it was a really, really kind of frustrating end to the season. Not only the fact that, like you just brought up, it's like our fourth time in 5 matchups falling to Western Kentucky, but like almost the way the game almost went the exact same as the first round. They were in that final game. They were in control through 8 innings, 7-8 innings, and then just kind of like the first game, they fell apart. Jacob Josie, he was really, really strong through 7 innings. I think it was the 8th when he first got that first earned run, and then just a complete fall apart on defense in the 9th. And that's kind of exactly what happened in like the first game. So it definitely was a really frustrating end to the season, but that doesn't change a lot of the great things that we saw. Specifically, Nolan Shanuel, he looked like one of the best players in the country consistently throughout the season. And then it was just another winning season under Coach Mack. You can chalk up that if we're talking about positive things to talk about. Things definitely could have went some other ways. You could have maybe got some better production out of the bullpen. The bats could have been better at some points throughout the season, but that's baseball. All you can do now is just kind of build upon that and look towards next season.
Yeah, their season obviously didn't end like the way they wanted to. Losing again to Western Kentucky, a team that we've fought 4 out of 5 games of the season we lost to. So Western Kentucky definitely has our number. in a sense, depending on how you look at it. Nolan Shanwell again has played tremendous throughout the season. Coach McCormick, tremendous job as a head coach, a good winning season this year, and again, it's like 500th win. Somewhere like later in the season, he won his 500th game, but also a very huge accomplishment for him. So I want to say overall, it wasn't a success. Like there were a lot of high points, but also some low points, and it just wasn't a great way to end the season of losing again to the same opponent in the Conference USA Championship, especially having a very big lead into like later in the game, and losing that lead. The pitching game, I think we definitely have to like improve on probably next season, and also figure out who will be like the new like Nolan Shanwell in a way, because most likely after the season he would potentially head into the MLB, probably be a top like 20 prospect. So that'd be good for our school having a top name prospect from baseball heading into the majors. So that'd be something good. That'd be something good to look at.
Yeah, for sure. Nolan Shanwell, he's bound to get some looks in the first round. He'll probably be drafted in the first round, which I think would be the highest an FU player has ever been drafted that high in an MLB draft. So Shanwell really made a name for himself this whole year and pretty much for his whole career with the Owls. But yeah, this season was just a testament to how much FU really developed him as a player and as a person. And really, it just gave him the recognition he rightfully deserved. And his batting, his home runs, the way he just puts opposing bullpens in fear with his excellent ability to hitting that ball down the field or out of the park. Like that just shows how great of a player Shanwell is. And the MLB will definitely enjoy having a guy like him on one of their teams. And yeah, good best of luck to Shanwell once the MLB draft arrives, and we'll see which team ends up picking him in the first round, most likely. So it was a very unfortunate end to FU baseball season with the way it ended. A back-to-back blown leads against Western Kentucky. Well, not in back-to-back days, but in back-to-back games against them. But it's still the same. They just went out very tough. It was very unfortunate. But hey, there's always next year. Of course, next year will be their first season in the American Athletic Conference. So we'll see we'll have brand new matchups in conference play. So it's going to be very enjoyable to watch them take on their new opponents. And with that will conclude our section on FU sports. Now we head on to national sports, and we'll first start off with the NBA. The conclusion of last night's game between the Miami Heat and Boston Celtics have finally given us our NBA Finals matchup. The Denver Nuggets from the Western Conference, who swept the Lakers recently last week, and the Miami Heat from the Eastern Conference, who survived the late comeback from the Boston Celtics, who managed to force it to a Game 7. And while they didn't complete the comeback, they still put themselves in history by being one of the very few teams to force a Game 7 after being down 3-0. So guys, what did you think of how the Miami Heat and the Heat Celtics series? How do you think that series ended up, and what are your thoughts on it as a whole? Knowing that Miami's going to be on their way to a finals after being denied that last year by the Celtics as well.
Yeah, this series like made my brain hurt because you just like never knew who was gonna show up on which night. And last night, Game 7, the Celtics just didn't show up. From that like first kind of play when Tatum rolled that ankle,
Yeah.
Just the Celtics as a team, they just looked out of it, all of them. And it wasn't just Jason Tatum limping. It was Jaylen Brown who was struggling kind of with some turnover. It was everybody. But more than that, give your credit to the Heat because they kind of showed up when it mattered the most. Spoelstra obviously had them ready because anytime the Celtics got any kind of thing going, they had an answer. Caleb Martin, he was incredible. He was the answer seemingly most of the time. Jimmy Butler, he kind of took a back seat almost a little bit to Caleb Martin last night, but he kind of turned it back on after struggling a little bit through 3 games. And they just showed up when it mattered most, and they're the ones going to the finals because of it now. So
Yeah, for me as a Celtics fan, that was not fun to see. And as you said, it was definitely like a headache seeing the Celtics come back, taking out the Heat, destroying them in Game 4 and Game 5. Game 6, very close, but Derek White was the hero. And got us in a spot where we seemed like we had an opportunity to do it. But once Tatum rolled his ankle in the first play, he said that he was basically a shell of himself.
Yeah.
And that definitely proved out throughout the entire game. And I just gotta say, like, even though I do not like the Heat, definitely gotta respect the players, especially the coach and the heart of the team. They had more heart than we did. They coached very well in the way that every time the Celtics try to get within 8, the Miami Heat would take them out. And at one point, it was like 81-68 or something. We were like 8 points behind the Miami Heat, so we had chances to come back, and we didn't take hold of it. We did not do well on 3-point shooting. We had 21% 3-point shooting, the worst this season since I think like February 27th against the Knicks. So we had very bad 3-point shooting. Our star players were not there, and definitely disappointing to see how our season has ended. But there'll be still a lot of questions to be asked later on, especially right now with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, if they should still stay together, or if Joe Mazzulla should be released of his duties. We'll see how it goes, because when the playoffs started, seeing the Heat take out the Bucks, we were like, okay, we have a real chance to win this entire playoffs, to go back to the NBA Finals, where we were 2 games shy of winning it all with a rookie coach. And we had this other rookie coach coming in, and we had a great series lead against the Hawks, and then we somehow lost our lead and got into Game 6 when it should have been in like a clean sweep against the Hawks. Then the 76ers, and because we took a long time with the Hawks, we could have taken the Sixers in the beginning of a series where Joel Embiid was hurt, and we could have won Game 1 and probably won Game 2 and finish that series up quickly as well. We did not. Our coaching was not that well in certain games. Jason Tatum was there to help us. We did not keep up that 51-point momentum to the Miami Heat series. We were down 3. We came back with 3. And Game 7, we just didn't play our hearts out. And it's definitely going to be motivation for me as a fan, because I believe last season the Warriors won in Boston Celtics Arena with that championship. And now seeing that again with the Heat, them winning in our home turf, holding that championship, definitely has, for me, I think all Celtics fans just hyped up to see our team play better next season. So we had a great record. I just think the coaching really wasn't there that season. But I still think maybe give Mazzulla like a chance.
I definitely agree with most parts of what you said, Maddox. First off, I disagree that the Celtics Hawks series should have been a sweep. I was expecting a gentleman's sweep. I said Celtics in 5 for that series, and it should have been 5. But the Hawks forced a Game 6 after that meltdown in Game 5. And then the Sixers series, need I say any more? Harden was going to get his game. That's fine. Game 1, okay, fine. But they could have been up 3-1. They could have ended this much sooner than we needed to. This could have been Celtics in 6, but now it goes 7. And this game, this series against Miami, I predicted Celtics 5. Foolish of me. I overestimated Boston, and I still underestimated Miami at the same time. And we got the Celtics getting eliminated in Game 7 like that. I deserve that. The Celtics fan deserved that for underestimating Miami the way they did. Miami, and credit to Miami, really, I think, again, let's just go back to college sports. Shout out to the Hurricanes, and of course FAU for reaching the Final Four. I think that really kickstarted South Florida's dominance in the postseason, like really. And of course, the next team we'll talk about in our next sport, in our next topic, we'll get to them. We'll get to them next. But yeah, the Miami Heat, they really they really bounced on the execution that FU Miami pulled off in the NCAA tournament, and they rode on that momentum, and now they're in the NBA Finals. South Florida is booming with success, and credit to them. They took down the Bucks the way they did. Jimmy buckets in 5 games, gentleman sweep. They pretty much handily took down the Knicks in convincing fashion. The Knicks could have been a favorite, but their offense wasn't there. And the Celtics, they just didn't have the right mentality for every game. It's just, especially the first 3. The first 3, they just weren't them. The next 3 games they were able to take, okay, great. Now we have a game 7. And yes, Jason Tatum, if he didn't get hurt, this would have been a different game completely. 100% Jason Tatum would have could have had the Celtics complete the comeback and have themselves be in the finals. But instead, this is what we got. And Jaylen Brown getting 8 turnovers, which is not pretty, and pretty much puts himself at risk of being traded during the offseason. I'm not saying it's a definite, but he put himself at risk of not getting his Supermax and might not be a Celtic after this season. So after this offseason anyway. But yeah, I do want Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to stay together for at least another year because, again, they're still quite young. They're still mid to late 20s, mainly mid-20s, but they still have plenty of time to really gel together. And I think they have gelled together quite nicely. It's just a matter of being more cohesive with their team mentality and just making the right plays, because you could tell that they really had bad shot selection, especially from Jaylen Brown throughout Game 7. And it was very unfortunate because this team really had all the pieces they needed. Well, barring Danilo Gallinari, who was out for the whole season. So it's a tough end for the Celtics season. And Joe Mazzulla, credit to him. He was put into a situation nobody expected him to be in, but he handled it quite nicely, got him to be the second best team in the East. Well, second best record in the East. And yeah, he handled quite nicely, gave the Celtics their most wins ever since the late 2000s when the Celtics used to have their big 3 of Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Kevin Garnett. But yeah, Joe Mazzulla, I think he could get another year. From what I've seen from The Athletic, Shams Charania, he has 3 years of $14 million left on his contract with the team. So I don't think Brad Stevens and management want to waste that money. They don't want to burn that and just find another coach. I think they'll continue sticking with Mazzulla until they realize, yeah, this is not going to work. And
I also don't think they just want to have. I also don't think they want like a third head coach in 3 years. However many in 3 years. That's not very much for like stability. So
yeah, both coaches, Emilio Udoka and Joe Mazzulla, were in the same position with Brad Stevens, who was the coach 3 years ago. We've made it to the Eastern Conference Finals like past 3 years or so. We have made it to that area, and with Ime, we did go up from Eastern Conference Finals, eventually the Finals. We just didn't catapult it, but because what Ime did, we had to release him. Then we got Mazzulla. So I don't really think it's much. I won't play like a blame game even this early after the Celtics just lost, but I really don't think it was the players' fault. I don't think Jaylen and Jason should be separated. And I think maybe just keep Mazzulla either throughout his entire contract or give him another year, because he came in here immediately after Ime was gone. He came off from the second row of the bench, and he didn't change his staff at all. So I think once he gets the staff he needs, we have a pick we have the 33rd pick in the second round. Get that draft pick, and maybe make some trades. Maybe either potentially get Damian Lillard or get someone good, or get like a pretty good, decent player.
Brown though.
but at least get like a pretty good, like decent player in the trade or in free agency.
I could involve trade Brogdon or Smart, because you're gonna have to trade one or the other. You can't have that backcourt be all loaded with guards, especially if you're gonna bring Dame over Jaylen.
Exactly.
But yeah, Celtics definitely. Yeah, but I definitely agree with you there, Maddox. The Celtics definitely have decisions to make this offseason, and especially with contracts, salaries. making sure they don't get too much into the tax where they have to pay too much that they might have to break up parts of this team that might lead them a little regressed in some areas. But again, it will be very interesting to see how Boston retools themselves during the offseason and, of course, in free agency.
And Godspeed to the Miami Heat, because while they've been going back and forth with Boston, the Nuggets have just been sitting at home and for probably like a greater part of like a week now, and now they got to go up to Denver, a mile up in the air, which it does make it is a lot harder to play in Denver because of that elevation. So. And they got and more than that, you got to figure out what to do with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray and the rest of that cast. So, I don't know. Having to go 7 games might not be a great thing for Miami. But I kind of especially after this series, I kind of trust in their way, Spoelstra's ability like to game plan for that a little bit. But man, yeah, having to go 7 games right before having to go play a series in Denver, that's not great vibes.
Yeah, and great transition to the next topic in the NBA Finals. Heat Nuggets. Enough talk about Boston. Now let's look at these two teams that are still alive in the postseason. Heat and Nuggets. Jimmy Butler versus Nikola Jokic. Bam versus Jamal Murray. And I'm not putting them by positions. I'm putting them by their best players. And of course, Denver, they pretty much have the best supporting cast left. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Aaron Gordon, Bruce Brown. It's very intimidating, to say the least, that Denver has a very good supporting cast. And while Miami has done well to get to this point, despite their injuries, this might be the end of the line to their Cinderella run, even though they really reached the mountaintop of their Cinderella run, unless they really captured the championship. And that would be the real mountaintop. That's the real icing. That's the real cherry on top to what's been an incredible year for them with everything they've been through. So my official prediction will be Nuggets in 5. It maybe goes 6, but I'm going 5 because I think Denver has really been the most consistent top team in this postseason. The way they handled Minnesota, the way they looked at hot scoring performances from Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, and were like, no matter, we'll just blow you guys out in Game 6 like Dallas did to y'all two in 2022, and swept the Lakers, who could have been a finalist had some shots went their way, especially if D'Angelo Russell did not underperform the way he did, and LeBron is not hurt the way he is. But yeah, they really took care of the competition and really handled a very entertaining series against the Lakers in a very composed manner. So the Nuggets are the real team to really be afraid of if we're talking regarding Miami's chances. They are the team they should be afraid of when it comes to preparing for game plans. And not really afraid. They'll definitely be up to the challenge. But in terms of winning 4 games against this Denver squad, it's going to be very interesting to see.
Just looking at it right now, I kind of agree with you there, Richard. Nuggets in 5 seems about right, but 6 would not surprise me at all. And it's mostly because Miami was kind of hitting their stride a little bit and like towards the beginning of the playoffs, and then after that great start to the Boston series, they started kind of faltering a little bit. Jimmy kind of didn't show up a couple of the nights there. And they almost got bounced because of it. But when you look at the Nuggets, they're hitting their stride right now. Like they're playing their best basketball right now. Maybe we haven't even seen their best basketball yet, possibly because, for Miami, you're not going to be able to stop like Jokic. People have been trying for 3 years. It's just that's not going to happen. So, but you can. Try to game plan, try to ways to stop Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr.
Yep.
And I do believe like they have that enough talent, and Spoelstra's that good of a coach. Maybe do that twice, but after watching that Boston series, I don't think they're going to be able to do that consistently enough to beat a Nuggets team that is this good and, you know, playing this well at this moment. So yeah, I definitely agree. Nuggets in 5-6 probably.
So again, as a Celtics fan, I really want the Heat. I really want to see the Heat get swept. I would love to see Nuggets in 4, but I think 5 or 6 definitely sounds most logical, especially looking at how deep both teams are. The Nuggets, who originally we said that they really didn't have much of like a deep bench, but seeing how they've taken the Lakers, they definitely do have a good supporting cast next to Jokic and next to Jamal Murray. And with the Heat, them having like 4 undrafted players playing lights out. Caleb Martin's definitely going to get like a huge max after these playoffs. Jimmy Butler putting up unreal numbers. And it's going to be a very interesting series to see because I'm talking about like elevation. The Heat just finished their series and they have I don't think I have enough time to see like at least like do their homework on the Heat. But now being up in the altitude definitely could be an issue, especially. So, and they're going to be out west, so it's going to be definitely like jet lag as well. You got to look into that as well. So I do think that could be in like game 5, potentially game 6 also. But it's also going to be another interesting thing to see though, is you got Nikola Jokic, who is playing MVP caliber despite Joel Embiid winning the MVP award. But also Jimmy Butler playing lights out in several games in this series and throughout the playoffs. So it's going to be very interesting to see how those two play off in moments like this, because the Nuggets are in their first NBA Finals in their franchise history in 47 years. The Heat have been here 4 times. This is Spoelstra's 7th time coaching in the finals, and Jimmy Butler's been in the NBA Finals. So it's going to be interesting to see their experience, their expertise in such a limited amount of time, playing a very talented, very hard to beat Denver team in Denver with Jokic in his first time in the NBA Finals. So it's going to be very interesting to see, but I definitely want to see Denver when, after this series is over, I'm getting a Nikola Jokic jersey. I really want the Nuggets to take out the Miami Heat.
Okay, but for sure, this will definitely be a fun series to watch. No matter what people say, it should have been Celtics Lakers. That would have given you the most ratings in NBA history. Nah, it won't, and it will never top the Jordan series of the '90s. No. Even the 2010 Lakers Celtics series didn't even do that. So it might have given a lot of mainstream popularity, sure, but Nuggets and Heat, it's still going to be a great series. It's going to be fun to watch Jimmy Butler and Bam go at it against Jokic and Jamal Murray. But yeah, we'll see what happens starting June 1st on Thursday. It's going to be very fun. And for our last topic of the day, we have the NHL. And we also have our finals matchup, aka the Stanley Cup final matchup between the Las Vegas Golden Knights and the Florida Panthers. Another 8th seed team, aka the Panthers, from South Florida, making their way to the finals of a postseason. Don't you just love it, South Florida? So, guys, with how spectacular this Panthers run has been, they completing the 3-1 comeback on the Bruins. Yeah, it has been a very tough year for Boston. They easily handle Toronto in 5 games, and they look at the Carolina Hurricanes and say, "Yep, we're bringing the brooms out on y'all," and swept them just like that, including the game winner in their final seconds, which was beautiful. So, what do you guys think on how the Panthers are approaching this finals against the Golden Knights?
I mean, I'm not in the locker room, but I gotta imagine that they're approaching it with like a, a lot of like brash kind of confidence. You know, everybody's favorite. You took them down in the first series, and now you're coming off a sweep in the conference finals, and Toronto was another team that was a lot of people picked to take you down, and here you are still. So you're here against all odds. So you just got to take that confidence into this one final series. Keep leaning on your best players like you have throughout this run, and just keep playing the same game you've been playing throughout the entire playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely interesting heading back in the fall to South Florida as a Boston fan, seeing all fans excited for the Heat, fans excited about the Panthers. And I do believe what you said earlier, Richard. I think it was Richard who said the momentum of the Miami Hurricanes and the FAU being all odds, making it to the Final Four, and one of the four best teams in the nation. Definitely hyped up all the professional teams in South Florida, the Florida Panthers, Miami Heat, both being 8 seed, both taking out the Bruins in TD Garden in Game 7, both taking out great teams that everyone expected them to take out everyone expecting them to take out the Panthers and the Heat. Florida and Miami, both hats off to them, doing a great job right now in the playoffs, despite me not being happy with that. But I do think it's a little bit different, though, compared to the finals, because with the NBA Finals, the Heat just finished their series, and now, after Game 7, a tiring, hard-fought series, having to go out west in Mile High City against the Denver Nuggets in just 3 days, it's going to be tricky. Now, the Panthers just swept the Hurricanes, so they have a little bit of edge on that, and they're going to the Golden Knights, who do have experience, even though they're a young franchise. 6 years this is their second time in the Stanley Cup Finals. This is their fourth or fifth time they've even been in the playoffs. They're just tremendous, to say the least, with Las Vegas. You're definitely putting the city of Vegas on the map as a next sports destination for anyone. Oakland Athletics are going to be heading over to Las Vegas soon. So everyone's heading to Vegas now because how well the Golden Knights have been playing. So I do think, even though I don't follow much of hockey, I do try to watch some of the playoffs, try to watch some shows on NHL Network. But I do think that the Panthers are going to keep up their momentum and keep their idea of hey, our backs are against the wall. Everyone sees us as the underdogs. We are going against the Golden Knights who have a lot of experience in this, and everyone sees the favorites. We got to take them out quickly as possible. I do, though, again, would want to see someone other than Florida win the championship after they took out my Boston team. So I would want to see the Vegas Golden Knights play, but it's a win, but it's not going to be in 4 or 5. I think it's going to be Game 7. Both these teams are going to play with a lot of heart. Matthew Tkachuk has been doing tremendous in these playoffs. The Panthers and the Golden Knights both are a very well-depth team, both very good teams, to say the least. So I do think, again, the championship for Lord Stanley is going to be a very hard-fought battle.
Yeah, for sure. I want to see the Panthers complete this year with the championship. I'm going Panthers in 6. Good luck to Miami against Denver, but for when it comes to NHL, I'm going Panthers in 6. I want to see them complete it. I don't think you beat the Bruins in the first round after going down 3-1. I don't think you do that because you were lucky. You did that because you're secretly one of the best teams in this league. You don't sweep an Eastern Conference Finals matchup unless you're that good. So the Panthers, they are the most sneaky good teams in the NHL. And that really speaks of how good the NHL really is, because there's a lot of parity in the NHL. There's a lot of good balance. There's a lot of balance. And even no matter how great you are offensively, you're bound to lose. There's still a chance that you might lose. And the Bruins-Panthers series was really proof of that. No matter how good your record is, no matter how historic your season has been, it will still come down to 4 games where you lose and you're out. And the Panthers really shown that they have no quit in them. Same with Miami, same with the Heat. Both teams have no quit in them. But for the Panthers, I really think this is their year, because after falling apart in the second round last year, despite having the best record in the NHL that time, of getting swept by Tampa Bay, I think this is their year. So Panthers in 6. How about you guys with your quick predictions?
I'd probably agree with you, Panthers in 6, but hockey playoffs are just so unpredictable. If it went 7, or God forbid, Vegas pulled one out, I wouldn't be surprised. But right now, let's get some good juju in the air. Panthers in 6.
As I said earlier, I got the Golden Knights in 7. They've had experience being in this place before, but as you said, Richard, you can't take out the Boston Bruins, the President's Trophy champions, the best record, the most points in NHL history, down 3-1, and then sweep the Carolina Hurricanes in the Eastern Conference Championship if you're not that good. And even though seeing a little bit of hockey and trying to get into like hockey now, seeing the playoffs and seeing how quick a game can change. Like I remember earlier in the season, someone from a team hit a goal with like 30 seconds start of the game. So it can change like that. I do think that it's going to be unpredictable. And this is where champions are made. This is where the best of the best has to be. So this is where the best of the best do play. So it's going to be definitely going to be a challenge for both teams. It'll be very fun to see as a fan.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. And yeah, best of luck to the Miami Heat and the Florida Panthers in their finals. South Florida represent. So, but yeah, best of luck to them, and we'll see how they go, how they perform in the finals against very tough opponents.